Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to today's deep dive. I want to start by asking a question, and I really want you to be completely honest with yourself here.
Yeah, honesty is definitely key for this one.
It really is. So, have you ever had one of those weeks where you are on paper at least, doing everything right? Like you're hitting your macros, you're eating your greens, you're getting your full 8 hours of sleep, drinking half your body weight in water.
All the classic wellness check boxes.
Exactly, all the check boxes. And yet you still feel completely drained, like fundamentally exhausted on a cellular level.
I think we've all been there at some point.
Right. If you are nodding along right now, you are going to want to stick around for this one, because today we are exploring the hidden missing link to that exact feeling of depletion. We're digging into this really fascinating ancient Ayurvedic concept called Ojas.
Ojas.
Yeah, Ojas, which is basically described as the ultimate luminous essence of your vitality and your immunity.
What's fascinating here is that we aren't just looking at ancient mysticism today. The research and the notes we're exploring bridge thousands of years of Ayurvedic tradition directly with cutting-edge modern immunology and endocrinology.
Which is wild to see side by side.
It really is. It's taking this ancient wisdom and overlaying it onto our very modern crisis of burnout, chronic stress, and that the profound disconnection so many of us feel. And actually, I love how our studio backdrop has subtly morphed today for this topic.
Oh, yeah, I was looking at that earlier.
Right. It looks like we're sitting in this ancient, serene Ayurvedic library, but there is this really subtle, glowing energy field pulsing all around the bookshelves. It's the perfect visual metaphor for what Ojas actually is.
It really feels incredibly calming just sitting here. So
Yeah.
to kick things off, we really need to define what Ojas actually is, because going through the material, one thing became very clear to me right away. You can't, point to Ojas on an anatomical chart.
No, you definitely can't.
It's not a tangible organ. It's not something a surgeon can just remove. Instead, the text describes it as an emergent property of perfect balance.
An emergent property.
Yeah. It is the highly refined, distilled energy that comes from properly digesting your food, the air you breathe, and even your thoughts.
That is the perfect way to conceptualize it.
Huh.
It's the final byproduct of a biological system working in absolute harmony. But, to understand how we actually achieve that harmony, we have to look at the underlying framework, which all starts with a concept called Agni.
Agni.
Right. Think of Agni as your digestive fire. It's the metabolic engine that transforms a plate of food into usable nutrients and eventually into Ojas. But there is a major catch here.
There's always a catch.
Always. This fire has to be perfectly balanced.
Right, it's like building a campfire. If it's a raging inferno, it just incinerates everything instantly. But if it's a weak, smoldering ember and you throw a massive log on it, like eating a huge, heavy meal, it just smothers the fire completely.
Precisely. And in Ayurveda, the state of that fire is dictated by the three doshas.
The doshas, right.
Yeah, which are essentially the fundamental energetic profiles of the body. You have Vata, which governs movement and tends to be cold and dry. You have Pitta, which is all about transformation and is very hot and sharp. And then you have Kapha, which is grounding, heavy, and provides stability.
So everyone is sort of a unique mix of those three.
Exactly. Your personal constitution is a mix of these, and you have to tailor your inputs to keep your specific agnica stable.
I was actually looking at the breakdown of how different people need different things, and it makes so much sense. Like, Vata types who are already a bit erratic and cold, they might need warm, oily, grounding foods to calm their system down. Whereas Pitta types who are running hot need cooling foods like cucumber or coconut water so they don't literally overheat their metabolic engine.
And then Kapha types, who are naturally heavy and stable, actually need spicy, light foods to keep things moving and prevent stagnation.
It's all about balance.
And this is crucial, because when we don't manage our unique constitution, our Agni gets thrown off. When that digestive fire fails, we create the ultimate villain of this entire framework.
The villain.
Yes, Ama. AMA. Ama is described as a sticky, toxic, metabolic sludge. When your Agni is weak and can't process what you're taking in, this sludge forms and starts clogging up the body's srotas.
And the srotas are essentially the subtle channels or highways in the body, right? The pathways that carry prana or life energy.
Yes. So imagine a major highway system getting completely gridlocked by thick mud.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It is. When those channels are blocked by Ama, your life energy hits a massive physical and energetic roadblock. Your inner immune defenses weaken and your avidas is severely compromised. You just feel heavy, lethargic, and sick.
Which brings up something that completely blew my mind regarding how we eat. It's this concept of ahuva, which translates to the sequential rhythm of digestion.
This is such an important point.
The material really emphasizes sattvic timing, meaning we should be eating our biggest, heartiest, most complex meal at noon. Why? Because that's when the sun is highest, and biologically, that is when our Agni, our internal fire, is at its absolute peak.
Right.
Then we are supposed to have a much lighter, easier to digest meal at night to transition smoothly into the body's restorative phase.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights where our modern wellness culture completely misses the mark.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. We have all these modern fads, obsessive calorie counting, macro tracking, random intermittent fasting schedules that completely ignore our natural solar cycles.
You treat the body like a machine instead of a living ecosystem.
Wait, so are you saying I could be eating a perfectly macro-balanced, organic, incredibly healthy meal, but if I eat it at 9 p.m., my body is basically turning it into toxic waste?
That is the harsh reality of it, yes. You can eat the most pristine food on the planet, but if you drop a heavy, complex meal into your stomach late at night when your Agni is naturally dormant, you are going to produce Ama instead of Ophos.
Wow.
There's a brilliant analogy used in the source material to describe this. Ignoring this natural rhythm is like a master guitarist plucking the strings of an instrument completely out of tune.
I love that analogy.
You might be playing the exact right notes, eating the right macros, but because the timing and tuning are off, it creates this deeply disruptive, chaotic sound. It ruins the entire composition of your vitality.
You're literally just out of tune with your own biology. Okay, let's unpack this a bit more because here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about dietary alchemy.
Yes, the alchemy is where the magic happens.
We know when to eat, but what are we eating to actually build this vitality? The notes go deep into specific foods that cultivate ojas, and the absolute undisputed superstar here is cow's ghee, or clarified butter.
In Ayurveda, it's called Brahmandia, which basically means it's a direct ojas-enhancing substance.
But it's not just a dense source of calories, right? The notes say it acts as a neuroprotective agent. It functions like a medicinal salve that literally dissolves that sticky ama from your intestinal walls and lubricates your fat channels so nutrients can actually move around.
And this is where the integration with modern science is so incredibly validating. If we look at the research from Dr. Anjali Gupta, a modern immunologist who studied this, the cellular mechanics are laid out perfectly.
What did she find?
Her studies show that the specific butyric acid and omega-3 fatty acids found in ghee stimulate the release of something called TGF-beta.
Okay, let's break that down for the listener. What is TGF-beta?
Think of TGF-beta as the ultimate diplomat or peacekeeper in your immune system.
A peacekeeper.
Exactly. It's a cytokine that tells your immune cells to calm down, which prevents autoimmune flare-ups and massive inflammation. It's critical for what we call immune tolerance.
That makes so much sense.
So, thousands of years ago, Ayurvedic practitioners knew that warming ghee and integrating it into meals somehow bolstered profound disease resistance. Today, cellular science is looking through a microscope and saying, here is the exact molecular pathway showing how it harmonizes the immune response.
It's so cool how the ancient intuition maps perfectly onto the modern lab results. I was also looking at the food list in the notes, and I saw dates and almonds heavily featured as dual pillars for building ojas.
Two very powerful foods.
Now, usually I just think of those as standard, healthy trail mix ingredients.
Yeah.
But there is a really specific caveat here based on those doshas we talked about earlier.
Right, the preparation matters.
Dates are incredibly sweet and dense, which is fantastic for Vata types who need to ground their erratic energy and revitalize their metabolism. But if you are someone with a kapha constitution, meaning you already lean toward being heavy and prone to stagnation, eating a bunch of dense dates is going to bog you down even more.
Exactly. For kapha types, the sheer heaviness of dates can smother that digestive fire.
So what do?
Well, to counteract that, they need to alchemize the food by adding warming, stimulating spices like cardamom or nutmeg. The same nuance applies to almonds.
Oh, because of their skins?
Partially, yes.
Yeah.
Almonds are prized because they fortify reproductive health, which Ayurveda calls shukra. And in this framework, the vitality of your reproductive system is deeply intertwined with your overall life force, your ojas. But almonds have tough skins that are hard to digest.
So they can be heavy.
Very heavy. So if your Agni is fragile, you can't just eat raw almonds by the handful. You have to soak them, peel them, and grind them into a paste so you don't overwhelm your system.
It requires so much self-awareness. You really have to know your own engine. And this alchemical approach also applies to cow's milk.
Yes, Godati.
According to the breakdown, just chugging a glass of raw, cold milk straight from the fridge is a one-way ticket to creating ama. It has a cold potency that dampens the digestive fire.
It just extinguishes it.
But if you apply a specific alchemical ritual heating that milk gently and adding turmeric, ginger, and honey, it transforms into something called Nandakshira, which literally translates to glorious milk.
Boy's milk.
The heat activates the nourishing grounding properties while completely neutralizing the cold, damp qualities that cause congestion.
And the crowning touch to that glorious milk is often the addition of ashwagandha.
Yes, which is so popular right now. You see ashwagandha supplements everywhere for stress relief.
It is everywhere, and for good reason. Modern endocrinology completely backs up its use. Ashwagandha contains these active compounds called withanolides.
Withanolides.
For the listener, you can think of withanolides as direct modulators for your HPA axis. The HPA axis, your hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal glands, is basically your body's stress thermostat.
Okay, the stress thermostat.
When you are chronically stressed, your cortisol levels flood your system. The ancient texts describe chronic stress as a violent storm breaking a dam, just washing away all your ojas. Ashwagandha steps in, rebuilds that dam, recalibrates the thermostat, and stops the cortisol flood.
Okay, so we've established how to build ojas up through digestion and specific foods, but I want to pivot because the notes describe the modern lifestyle as a leaky bucket of energy drainage.
A very leaky bucket.
We are basically accidentally destroying our ojas on a daily basis, and a huge culprit here is how we approach physical fitness. I think a lot of us assume that doing intense, grueling, high-intensity workouts every single day is the peak of health.
It's the standard modern advice.
But this framework warns that chronic overtraining actually eats away at muscle tissue and completely drains our adrenal reserves. It sets off a domino effect. Your digestive fire weakens, your cortisol spikes, and your immune system just crashes.
That is the trap so many of us fall into. We view exhaustion as a badge of honor. But this constant, aggressive expenditure of energy is a silent thief of vitality.
So what's the alternative?
The Ayurvedic antidote to this modern gym culture is the concept of tapas, which means disciplined effort. But it is not the punishing, push-through-the-pain discipline we are used to. It's about disciplined energy conservation.
Right, it's about working in, not just working out.
Precisely. The material advocates for integrating gentle yoga poses like Gomukhasana, the cow face pose, or gentle seated twists.
Why those specifically?
Because these specific movements physically wring out and stimulate your internal channels without demanding massive amounts of energy from your Agni. And when you pair those movements with targeted breath work, like Shitali, which is a cooling breath, or Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, you act as a direct biological switch, dramatically upregulating your parasympathetic nervous system.
You are basically sending a loud, clear signal to your body saying, hey, we are not running from a tiger right now. It is safe to rest, digest, and rebuild. But it's not just physical overexertion draining the bucket, it's emotional depletion too. The notes explain that constant emotional overstimulation directly attacks what they call the manomaya kosha, or the emotional sheath of the body, which is intimately interwoven with our physical ojas.
They are completely connected.
To stop this specific leak, the framework points to practices like bhakti yoga, which is devotional surrender, and seva, which is selfless service or volunteering.
And here we find another stunning intersection of ancient philosophy and modern biology.
Tell me about that.
If we look at psychoneuroimmunology, which is the study of how your mental state and nervous system physically alter your immune system, the data is clear. Engaging in selfless service and cultivating sustained, genuine connection actually elevates the activity of your natural killer cells.
Natural killer cells. Those are the cells in our immune system that basically act as elite assassins, right? The ones that roam around hunting down viruses and early tumor cells.
That's exactly what they do. They are your first line of robust defense. So, engaging in selfless service, literally, biologically, increases the number of immune assassins protecting your body. It is a measurable biological marker of resilience that perfectly aligns with the ancient description of Ojas acting as an energetic shield.
That is incredible. Volunteering literally boosts your virus hunting cells.
Wow. Okay, speaking of rest and resilience, we absolutely have to talk about sleep, or nidra.
Nidra is crucial.
The text refers to sleep as a sacrosanct observance. It is non-negotiable. And it's deeply focused on the timing and quality, not just logging 8 hours whenever you can.
The timing is everything.
According to the breakdown, you really need to be asleep by 10 p.m. Because if you stay up past 10, you miss the window to capture kapha's grounding, regenerative phase, and you slip into pitta's active phase, which is why people get that second wind at 10:30 p.m. and suddenly want to clean their entire kitchen or doom scroll until 2 a.m. We've all been there. But capturing that kapha phase is essential for deep cellular recapitulation. And the pre-sleep rituals are fascinating because they are highly intentional.
You don't just collapse into bed with your phone inches from your face.
No, you actively prepare the nervous system. You drink that warm, spiced, glorious milk. You perform a grounding foot massage using tila tela, which is warm sesame oil. And crucially, you implement a strict digital detox at least an hour before bed.
And there's a really cool biochemical reaction happening with that milk right before bed. The honey you add doesn't just make it sweet. It acts as a shodhana, or cleansing agent. Its specific phytochemicals synergize with the curcumin in the turmeric to actively bind to free radicals in your bloodstream.
Exactly. So while you were deeply asleep in that kapha phase, this alchemical drink is actively neutralizing the oxidative stress that would otherwise be degrading your ojas. You are chemically cleaning up your cellular waste while you dream.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. What if we are already walking around with a massive backlog of that toxic ama we talked about earlier? What if our channels are already blocked? The notes dive into Ayurvedic detoxification, and I have to admit, when I was reading this part, I was a little taken aback.
It's an intense protocol. The formal clinical process is called panchakarma. It's a highly supervised multi-day therapy designed to physically force the body to expel deep-seated chronic accumulations of ama.
Right, and when you say expel, you mean it, because the notes mention things like vamana, which is for kapha-type congestion, and vamana is therapeutic vomiting. Hold on, therapeutic vomiting?
I know, it sounds incredibly radical, especially to Western ears. And for pitta-dominant ama, they utilize virachana, which is intensive therapeutic purgation.
Wow.
It is not a spa day. It is a profound, demanding physical challenge. But here's why it matters and why modern science is paying attention. Clinical studies on patients undergoing panchakarma show that these intense physical purges significantly normalize major inflammatory markers in the blood, specifically IL-6 and CRP.
Let's explain those markers for the listener. IL-6 and CRP are basically the fire alarms in your bloodstream, right? They indicate chronic systemic inflammation.
Yes, high levels of CRP and IL-6 are linked to everything from heart disease to autoimmune conditions. Panchakarma isn't just a quick juice cleanse. It is a fundamental, measurable reset of your entire immunological baseline. It clears the physical sludge so the ojas can flow again.
That is wild. But thankfully, for those of us who can't take 3 weeks off to go to a specialized retreat center for therapeutic vomiting, the notes do offer much gentler, accessible herbal approaches to clearing ama.
Yes, there are gentler ways.
There is Triphala, which is a really well-known blend of 3 fruits that acts as a very mild, gentle laxative. It scrapes the ama out of the digestive tract without exhausting your Agni. And then there's Trikatu, which is a sharp blend of long pepper, ginger, and black pepper that kind of acts like kindling to reignite a sluggish digestive fire.
And what's remarkable about these specific herbal blends is their mechanism of action. They don't just push waste out. They actively engage a cellular mechanism called the NRF2 pathway.
Okay, NRF2 pathway. For the listener, the best way I can describe NRF2 is that it's the master switch inside your cells that controls your antioxidant factories. So by taking these herbs, you aren't just swallowing a temporary antioxidant pill, you are literally flipping the switch that tells your own body to manufacture its own defense mechanisms against oxidative stress.
That's a perfect analogy. Now, beyond just physical detoxification, there's a vital concept in the notes regarding mental and sensory detoxification. It's called pratyahara, which translates to the conscious withdrawal of the senses.
That feels so relevant today.
It is. In our modern reality, we are bombarded by sensory input from the second we wake up to the second we sleep. The framework describes this constant barrage of screens, notifications, and media as an electromagnetic fog.
And that fog just scatters our prana. We have a massive hole in our leaky bucket of energy purely from sensory saturation. Just the act of constantly processing incoming data is exhausting our oshas.
Exactly. So, simple, intentional acts like literally closing your eyes during a 5-minute breathwork session, or enforcing that evening digital detox act as a plug for that leak. You deliberately withdraw your outward attention and pull it inward so your internal energy can be tended to like a quiet hidden garden rather than being constantly harvested by external distractions.
I really love that imagery, a hidden garden that you have to actively protect. But this brings us to a really fascinating tension that the notes highlight. It's the great paradox of Ojas.
The paradox.
On one hand, Ojas absolutely requires stability, boundary, and grounding, which is
Hmm.
that kapha energy. It needs a container. But on the other hand, if it's too rigid, it becomes stagnant. It also requires boundlessness, movement, and adaptability, which is the vata energy, so the body can remain agile and responsive to a changing environment. You can't just eliminate the chaotic vata energy, you have to somehow integrate it.
Precisely. And the daily rituals of Ayurveda are brilliantly designed to hold this exact paradox. Take a practice like Abhyanga, which is a daily self-massage using warm oil or nasha, which involves placing a few drops of specially formulated warm herbal oil, usually sesame oil infused with an herb called brahati, directly into the nasal passages.
Which, again, might sound a bit strange to some people, putting oil in your nose.
It does, but these aren't just luxurious spa treatments. They are highly calculated biological strategies. The oil physically moistens and lubricates the dry, rough channels. It reduces mental congestion and allows your prana to flow smoothly up into the brain. It's a physiological metaphor for folding that erratic, anxious, mobile vata energy back into the warm, stable container of your Agni. You aren't suppressing the movement. You are giving it a safe, lubricated channel to flow through. You're perfectly balancing the boundary with the boundlessness.
So what does this all mean? We have covered a massive amount of ground today. From the campfire of your digestive Agni and alchemical glorious milk, to natural killer cells, the leaky bucket of gym culture, and pulling our senses out of the electromagnetic fog.
We've covered a lot.
Ultimately, what I'm taking away from this is that cultivating ojas is not a destination. You don't just hit a specific metric and arrive at perfect health forever. It is a continuous, graceful recalibration of three pillars. Ahara, which is how you nourish your body, Vedan, which is how you manage your sensory inputs, and Chitta Shuddhi, which is the ongoing purification of your mental and emotional state.
And this raises an important question about how we are fundamentally structuring our lives in this hyper-connected, deeply exhausted modern age. The societal push for ceaseless productivity, the hustle culture that perfectly mimics Pitta's sharp, fiery drive. But when that fire is totally unsupported by the grounding rest of kapha or the fluid adaptability of vata, it stops being an engine and just becomes a corrosive acid.
It just burns you out.
Right. The ancient texts are urging us to trade that ceaseless stimulation for mindful materiality. We have to cultivate what they call kritayota, or genuine, deeply felt gratitude. Because forcing toxic positivity or aggressively ignoring our actual stress and trauma just acts as another hidden siphon that drains our ojas from the inside out.
It's all about finding and respecting your unique internal rhythm. And that actually leads me to a final, slightly provocative thought I want to leave you with today. We touched briefly earlier on this Ayurvedic principle called satmiya, which roughly translates to personal habituation. It's the acknowledgement that no rule is absolute, and your specific constitution will react differently to the exact same inputs than my constitution will.
Right.
So I want you to consider this. What if the ultimate secret to deep, unshakable vitality isn't about finding the perfect universal health protocol? What if it's not about nailing the exact right macro split, or buying the ultimate supplement stack, or copying the morning routine of a billionaire CEO?
That's a powerful reframe.
What if the most scientifically accurate, profoundly useful data you will ever find in your entire life is actually your own body's subtle, deeply personal reactions to the world around you? Maybe the true path to cultivating your ojas is simply learning to trust the unique, intricate symphony of your own energy, rather than constantly exhausting yourself trying to play someone else's sheet music.
That is exactly what this is all about.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Before you rush off to your next meeting or whatever you have to do today, just take one deep, sattvic breath, let your shoulders drop away from your ears, and we will catch you next time.